Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to World of Warships for our Saturday upgrade commander build video, which is going to be on the Tier 10 Italian battleship, the Colombo, Cristoforo Colombo. I did one back in 2023, but honestly things have changed with the ship, with some changes between the unique upgrade and even debate about, the exhaust smoke generator upgrade you could take. And the dynamic and the relevance of this ship has shifted since the last time I did upgrade commander build video. So I'm going to revisit it on Monday. I intend to have a battle highlight of several different battles with the unique upgrade, as this was, and I wasn't able to get that out yesterday on Friday. So that being said, what kind of battleship is Colombo? Well, she's a mid-range to somewhat long range, but I think mid-range is where you'll find most satisfaction with the Colombo. So that's mid-range for high tier I define as 12 to 15. And that's really comes to the artillery, because you have 16 381mm guns with sap and armor piercing, and you get the most punishing salvos when you play around her concealment, which would be 14 as an example. And especially early on in the game, you're not playing, let's say, necessarily at the 15, maybe you're like maybe a little more 18, 19 as an example. But his ship is pretty potent at mid-range and very potent at close range. Not that you should be at close range, but if you end up in close range situations, destroyers look out, submarines look out. I even shot a enemy Cristoforo Colombo, I think 8 kilometers away for 34,000 sap. Yeah, so we're going to get into all that more particularly on the Monday video. So with that being said, let's look at her armor. So you have a combination of 32 and 50 happening here, and then 70 along this side. So you're a little more resilient to penetration in the midsection of the ship. Now, if you go up against an enemy Colombo, of course, enemy Colombo is going to pin throughout here and won't pin those small parts there. But it's more resilient to the HE spamming, which is really nice. But of course, your bow is more weaker here on the Cristoforo Colombo. If you strip away to the Citadel, it is... make sure I see this right, my head's playing with me. It's actually a waterline Citadel. So then you kind of have this little fold here, this deck slope then coming into it. So it's a little difficult to Citadel Colombo. More if you're like, let's say you're Montana with your 4.6s at range, then you can kind of dive in and wreck. It is possible to Citadel, it's not impossible, but close range you'll have a little more difficulty Citadeling it, I would say. And then when you look at the armor plating, you have 406 on the front, 254, and then 380 on the back, and 200 on the top. So it's possible to have the main battery guns incapacitated. It's happened to me once or twice of the several games I had with the ship the other day. So it's possible, but they're relatively tanky overall. Module-wise, with our setup, we have a 34.8 second reload time. I think normal would be around 37 seconds without taking a main battery mod 3 or the unique upgrade. Your minimum shell type switching time is 9.7. I am running Luigi Sansonetti, and we have some perks on him helping us out here. 180 degree turn time of 31.9 seconds with our build. I think we are running grease the gears on Sansonetti. And maximum sap damage, 12,500. Maximum AP shell damage, 12,000. Hit point wise, 89,900. If you run Charlie Kilo, it'll be 94,400. Coming into the main battery firing range, it's 18.9. So basically, Wargaming has kind of designed this ship that it shouldn't be played in more of that sniper role capacity, like a Yamato, a Shikishima, other ships, Conqueror, even in the game, right? Thunder. It's meant to be really embody more the mid-range of the game around that 15 kilometer. Again, playing around that 14.0 conceal when you go for a full conceal build. But you have a spotter plane when you need it. On Monday's video, you'll see me utilizing the spotter plane here and there. Propulsion, 29.6 knots. With Sierra Mike, we can get up to 31.1 knots. If we take Brisk, I'll talk about Brisk, you can get under, it's like 34 point something knots. It's under 35 knots, which is helpful. All right, so for the first slot, I am running the main Armaments mod 1. This is just reducing the risk of our main battery becoming incapacitated by 20%. Main battery survivability plus 50%. Main battery repair time negative 20%. Otherwise, you could talk about damage control party mod 1 just to boost the action time on your damage control party. But, if it started off as a 20-second and then you stacked on, because I'm running a commander perk that takes it from 15 to 16.5, then we might consider it more or less. You could still definitely run it, but I've had issues every now and then with my main battery becoming incapacitated. Granted, if you lose a turret temporarily, you're only down to 12 guns, when you start off with a whole 16. So it would be possible to consider running the damage control party mod 1. I don't think it's out of the question here because of how much HE spam, submarines, this, that, and the other currently happening within the game. So if you do decide to take the damage control party mod 1, it's a special upgrade for 17,000 coal. If you have the 25% off coupon, it will be 12,750. So it's right here, but 40% on the action time. Second slot, we're running the damage control system mod 1. Risk of catching fire negative 5%, risk of flooding negative 3%. Third slot, there's 3 options to consider here. The main one is going to be the aiming systems mod 1. The main reason for this is without running any type of dispersion assistance on your upgrades, it's a bit rough with Colombo. Like, Colombo became pretty popular. Like, she kind of resurfaced in popularity during the Deadeye when you had that negative 10% off your dispersion when you fired while being undetected. And I think you had a ship speed boost too with that. I can't remember. But anyhow, that 10% made a pretty big difference because you were stacking it on this upgrade, which I'll put on the right side of the screen here, without taking the unique upgrade into account, negative 7%. Off your horizontal and your vertical dispersion. So you checking a 7% and then the 10% that the Deadeye offered, it was like really potent. Colombo kind of made this resurgent since they took Deadeye out of the game because it wasn't good for the game. And then she kind of fell by the wayside. And then now, more recently, she's come back into popularity, mainly because of the unique upgrade. And I'll talk about why that is when I get to the 6th slot. So we do get a slight buff on our secondary battery firing range and our secondary battery dispersion as well, being reduced, so more accurate. That's all good and done here. The other thing is that Wargaming then changed to allow Smoke Generator mod 1 to be ran on the Italian ships with the exhaust smoke generator, right? So you could add 20 seconds on your smoke time, 20%. So then you're getting closer to a minute, and then you already have X-ray Papa combat signal, which takes us up to 49.5. So then, yeah, you would basically be having a minute of smoke screen time if you decided to run this. However, it doesn't make a lot of sense to, because you really need the accuracy to help you out, would be my argument here. Other consideration would be the main battery mod 2, but it's not necessarily needed because if you're positioning well, your rear turrets are 360-degree turning turrets. So Colombo really likes to be more bow in, shift turrets to this side, shift turrets to this side as an example. Or if you find yourself kiting, then, your front turrets have to do the full, 270 spin or whatever, if you will. So I overall like Aiming Systems Mod 1. It works best, especially with the unique upgrade, when you pair those two together. The 4th slot, propulsion. I'm going to talk about propulsion, but Damage Control System Mod 2. Your fire extinguishing time and flooding recovery time, negative 15%. I do think there are some people who run to propulsion mod 1. It's possible to run it here, but with the Damage Control System mod 2, you're just kind of going more for survivability and tank. So I just still lean towards Damage Control System mod 2 overall, personally speaking. 5th slot, Concealment System mod 1. You start off with a really large detectability radius with Colombo before taking Conceal on the Commander or here on the 5th slot. And honestly, it's the best to just go ahead and run it here on the 5th slot compared to the other options. Yes, you could extend out your consumable action time on your smoke as well, but it's not really needed, in my opinion. So, Consumables System Mod 1. Now here you're going to find 3 possible upgrades to take. Now, I'll get to improved rangefinders, and I'll say, you need the Research Bureau. If you don't have access to Research Bureau, then you're looking at one of these 2 options. So we'll get to that in a moment. Previously, I ran the main battery mod 3. It got you down more to I think it was a 32 second reload time, something like that, which was more helpful, but not as great as accuracy, and your main battery traverse speed was nerfed. So basically that 31.9 you see here would be more like, I'm guessing like 33 something, maybe a little higher than that. But I ran this one previously, right? And I didn't like going for the Gunfire Control System Mod 2 to extend out the main battery firing range to get it out of the 18.9 because we have the spotter plane, and it's a mid-range battleship. It's really meant to be played around her concealment at the 14-kilometer range, which leads us to improved rangefinders. So this improves the ship's tactical role by increasing the efficiency of long-range attacks. Your main battery reload time, -6%. Your maximum main battery shell dispersion, -6%. So you have 6% paired with this, 7%, so you're getting a 13% buff on your accuracy here. And we don't have the nerf of the main battery traverse speed that this has, but we're trading off, more accuracy and a slightly lesser reload time effectively here. So that's really the difference between those 2 effectively. And I have just been loving improved rangefinders, so I'll go ahead and show you what that looks like in the armory. If you're a newer player to World of Warships and you don't have access to Research Bureau yet, you can have kind of a sneak peek of what it looks like here, and I'm sure you probably have seen some other videos here. But it's under the upgrades. You have to have 5 Tier 10 ships or some other way you've been granted access with research points to have early access to the Research Bureau. I focused on picking up a lot of ships, and I'm now switching more into picking up more of the unique upgrades here in the game. But it's here. It'd be 19,200 Research Bureau points, and it also tells you, it states here, the upgrade is available for this slot 6. And naturally, we can click here and I can see it's on the list here. So, the reason why Colombo has picked back up in popularity, I'll cover it in the Monday video, is basically there's a lot more tankier ships in the game, and the penetration that your semi-armor piercing has is 96mm. So it's punishing the strong ships like Libertad, the Pan-American battleship, with the 51mm armor scheme. So this ship is a good counter to Libertad. It was a good counter to the Vrese, the experimental tier 10 Michelangelo style ship with secondaries. So it counters the more tanky ships in the game. And the fun fact is, having this improved rangefinders is when you have a destroyer who decides to just open up on you, and then you just smack him for most all of his health with your 16 381mm sap, or you one-shot a submarine and get Death Strike. I did both of those the other day. This is a phenomenal upgrade to be running, where I couldn't say I could be as reliant on that with the main battery mod 3, as an example. Moving along, armament. So again, the semi-armor piercing here. We have the 381mm, so 12,500 damage, more damage than the armor piercing, and you pin 96mm, and initial velocity is 880 meters a second. So it's actually, the sap travels faster than the armor piercing. The armor piercing is 850 meters a second with 12,000 damage. So basically, most of the time, you're always going to be shooting semi-armor piercing. Now, if you get a broadside target, like I think I'll have a clip, there's a GK who went broadside. So because I have a 9.7 second shell type switching time, I switched to armor piercing because the GK just decided to say broadside, and we totally wrecked him. We just did a massive chunk of damage to him. We probably still would have done a massive chunk of damage with the sap. But there's just something satisfying when you need to utilize the armor piercing, maybe get some citadel hits, broadside carrier, this, that, and the other. Utilizing both of these is really good, but most of the time you're going to be using the sap. but don't sleep on their armor piercing. Depth charge airstrike, it's 11-kilometer range. Aircraft HP 2050. You get 1 number of aircraft in attacking flight, 2 available flights. Reload time 30 seconds. And the bomb damage, it drops 2 per flight, so 4 total bombs total, and each bomb does a maximum damage of 4,900. So hopefully you're able to get the direct hit, or you do more like a splash damage. Consumable wise, with one of our commander skills, we go from 15 seconds to 16.5 on the action time of the damage control party. Cooldown time 80 seconds, unlimited number of charges. We also have a buff or commander skill that's giving us 5 repair parties rather than the standard 4. HP per second 472. If you're playing ranked randoms clan battles, you're going to be wanting to run the India Delta, which bumps us up to 566 HP per second. Again, one of our commander perks takes us from 28 to 30.8 second consumable action time. Cooldown time 80 seconds, and we have 5. You have access between the spotting aircraft and the fighter. If you're playing ranked, probably you'd be running around with fighter. But if you're doing, clan battles, randoms, you're going to be wanting to run the spotting aircraft, 20% on your range. So that shoots you up over 20 kilometers, like 21, 22. Just saying that off the top of my head. With a action time of 100 seconds and cooldown time of 240 seconds. And we have 4 here as a whole. And then the exhaust smoke generator, it's an action radius of 0.51 kilometer. It's a 10-second smoke screen dispersion time. So let's say you decided to stop in your last puff of smoke, then you have a 59.5 seconds worth of smoke screen, keeping you concealed. Consumable action time, 49.5, but 59.5 if you use the last puff, the 10 seconds of the last puff. Cooldown time, 180 seconds. Number of consumables, 3. Now the other thing I think I needed to mention here, no, I think I had it right. I was thinking it reduced the cooldown time, but I think that's Venezia unique upgrade. I'm getting mixed up in my head. So with that being said, we can take November Foxtrot, which I do. This has a negative 5% on the action cooldown time on our consumables. So we go from 80 to 76, 80, 76, 240, 228, and then 180 to 171. So I quite like running that here. Other combat signals going to be running is the ram. Maybe you end up utilizing your smoke and you don't have much health left, and you're just going to run the ram that Montana, who's got more health than you, or whatever. Or a submarine decides to surface up underneath of you, or destroyer decides to ram you. It can happen. Then I like running the Hotel Yankee, and then we take both of these two, India Yankee and then Juliet Yankee. So these reduce or improve, reduce the fire extinguishing time. So the fires in your floods get put out faster. Sorry, I'm freaking a little tongue-tied there. Right, over to the commander. So we are running a Luigi Sansonetti. You obtain Luigi Sansonetti through the Resolute and Rapid collection here in the game. So if I go to profile, I'm here in collections, and I really don't remember what it looks like. Is it this one? Probably skipped it. No, it's up here. There's a lot of collections. It's hard to keep them all straight. I was looking for more like the Italian one. Okay, yeah, here it is. Of course, it's the last one. It's the last one. It'll give you him upon obtaining the Resolute and Rapid collection. So he comes with 10 skill points, and then the Italian Navy symbol. The way you complete this collection is via the armory. You'll need to spend 6,000 coal for these specific containers. So I'll just pull up containers here, and it's this one right here. And it gives you an element of the Resolute and Rapid collection. So it's a bit of a coal investment here in order to pick him up, but he's pretty good. I mean, he's so good, honestly, that he's almost mandatory on any Italian ship in the game just to help buff and bolster the Italian ships. Because, I mean, even the Italian destroyers really need a leg up. And he just really helps out here. So I've really liked running him on Colombo, and I've liked running him on Venezia. His talents is he has a rapid fire. Activates upon earning the Confederate achievement, so a negative 15% to the main battery reload time, and I activated this in a game yesterday. So it's very helpful. So then you're running less than or about a 30-second reload time, I guess, without taking our adrenaline rush into account. So that's very helpful, or just under 30 seconds. Yeah, the Far Reach activates once per battle. Once you destroy an enemy ship, you get a plus 8% on the main battery firing range. So then, okay, so I can go beyond 18.9, and then my poor Italian destroyer, who has a 9.6 main battery firing range. Now I understand why you say Sansonetti is really needed on most Italian ships in the game. So that is very much helpful. And then you have Concealed Reserves. It activates once per battle upon hitting enemy ships 100 times with your main battery shells. So let's say the game goes long enough, and with your 16-3 and 81mm guns, you're able to get 100 main battery hits. Then you have a plus 10% on your damage control party time, your spotting aircraft, your repair party, and your smoke. So very, very helpful, especially if you live towards the last half of the battle and you're able to activate this talent here. So you pretty much always pick this up with Venezia, typically. Just faster reload, and Venezia's got a bit better dispersion accuracy than Colombo. Now, in terms of his enhanced skills, for battleships, there's only one. It's the gun feeder here, and it's a negative 60% main battery shell type switching time, and Wargaming baked in a buff on the Italian ships as well. So, it would normally be like closer to, what would that be, like 16, 17 seconds or something like that. But Wargaming baked in a buff on the Italian ships, at least the battleships, maybe the cruisers also, for the shell type switching time. That's because normally these ships have a longer reload time. So it's 9.7, which is incredibly good if you utilize both your armor piercing and your sap. So that being said, let me run you through my 21-point build. There's 2 other options we could run here, maybe 3 we could run here as well. This one's a pretty classic. This hasn't really changed from my 2023 video, but I want to make some more notes that I should have made in that last video. But as time goes on, you tend to hopefully get better as a content creator and better player in the game. So I like running Sansonetti. I like gun feeder and switching between the AP and SAP in a very fast amount of time. So we run that. For 3-point commander, then we're taking grease the gears, so main battery traverse speed. So again, that is that 31.9 seconds. For 6-point commander, then I'm taking adrenaline rush. So as I take damage, my main battery is reloading faster. It's dropping to 34.5, 34, 33.5 as time goes on. And then for a 10-point, this is where there's going to be some differences when I talk about some other builds. But for now, I'm just going to do kind of more a classic tried and through build. For 10-point commander, then I take fire prevention expert next. Reduces the risk of catching fire by negative 10% and maximum number of fires -1. So if you're new to the game, without fire prevention, you have 4 fires that would be set across your ship. You would have 1 on the bow, 1 on the stern, and 2 on the superstructure. Fire prevention says, hey, no 2 fires on the superstructure, only 1 fire on the superstructure, which means you're ticking for less damage rather than having 2 fires worth of damage ticking. So fire prevention is very helpful. Especially, it's needed more so than ever, I would argue, just because of a lot of the Dutch ships. If you're talking about Utrecht, Tromp, the Golden Lion, Prins van Oranje, and more HE spam in the game, it's, yeah, I have a hard time thinking of not going with Fire Prevention Expert here in 2025 in World of Warships. After this 10-point build, probably 14-point build, you could either go for Concealment or run Emergency Repair Expert. Myself, probably I'm just going to go for Concealment just to get you down to that 14. Otherwise, you're up over 15 and it's a bit rough height here. So 14-point Consumables Expert, and then for an 18-point, I would be running the Emergency Repair Expert, plus 10% action time on your damage control party and your repair party, and then we get an additional charge on a repair party, so we go from 4 to 5. So if you typically, you're living the last half of the battle, then the emergency repair expert tends to be, quite helpful overall to get that another additional heal. 21-point build, basic survivability, modular restoration time, -15%, fire extinguishing time, -15%, and flooding recovery time, -15%. Now, I like this particular skill because it pairs really well with this upgrade, which is reducing the fire and flood duration on our ship. So that's why I like running these two in tandem. So that's my 21-point build. Now let's talk about a difference here. So if you really wanted to, you could drop basics to survivability and then take brisk. So you have that 10% ship speed when you're not detected, and right now it's a 34.8 second reload time. So, you have a fire penalty for 20 seconds. Let's say there's a ship spotting you, and then you go back to your conceal. And then you have about 15 seconds of running around dark, assuming you're not detected in that timeline, to have a faster 10% speed. Helps you get around the map a bit faster. So it is a good skill to be running on Sansonetti. I just don't per se like it as much because with the submarines, it kind of takes away from the brisk spotting opportunities. But to make a point here with the brisk works really, really well with your exhaust smoke generator. So if you need to get away, your smoke fire penalty goes away, and then you activate your smoke, you've overextended yourself on a flank, and you just need to back off. That extra 10% is going to help you disengage that much more quickly. So brisk is a good skill. Then you take your last point, and I would say, there's a few different options. You could run this, which would be -7.5% and getting your spotter plane and your smoke off cooldown faster. Or you could run Emergency Repair Specialist, which just gets your damage control party and your repair party off cooldown faster. So, X this skill out, then take this, and then either one of these two is what I would do. Now, the other option we could be running here is you could swap the basics to survivability for the improved repair party readiness. This activates every time your ship receives potential damage equal to 100% of the ship's base HP, where your repair party is coming off cooldown faster. So when we're running November Foxtrot, right, it's 76 seconds, so then you could be getting it off cooldown even faster. So as you take 100% equal to your ship's potential damage, whatever, your cooldown time on your repair party is going to start dropping from 76, 75, 74, 73, 70, 65, right, as an example. And then once you, per battle, after your ship receives 2 million potential damage, you go from a 5th heal to a 6th heal. Now, I've had a very difficult time getting to the point where I actually need to utilize my 6th heal in the game. So if maybe you didn't have the smoke generator and you didn't have such a long reload time, like let's say you're going to be spotted more regularly, then I could see maybe a little bit more value for the improved repair party readiness. But for a tried and true, the basics of survivability is really good here. I've also seen people not run fire prevention, which I'm like, ugh. I have a really hard time on that, and I think what they did was they coughed up the 4 points here, and then they also took improved repair party readiness, and then they took one of these 1-point skills. But you're kind of working against yourself because you're purposely eating more damage when fires are set on you, and kind of making it redundant, in my opinion. So I've preferred this build the most. If I was going to run another build, I would drop basics of survivability and pick up brisk. In Consumables Specialist or the Emergency Repair Specialist, one of those two. Honestly, I wouldn't mind having my DCP and repair party off cooldown a bit faster versus the smoke. You only get 3 smokes as a whole, and you're gonna have 2 left after you activate, the smoke the first time around. Or you could take the improved repair party readiness over basic survivability. So, to each their own. In terms of any other skills, what I recommend here, not really. It's not really good secondary boat. He doesn't, you wouldn't be running IFHE. No, it's pretty much this: improve repair party readiness, brisk, consumable specialist, or emergency repair specialist. Those would be the skills I would be looking at as a whole on Cristoforo Colombo. But the unique upgrade is really worth it. I can definitely feel a difference with when I'm not running it now. But going from not having it to having it is like, wow, like this is incredible. And we got some sweet salvos on some subs, destroyers, and battleships and cruisers. Yeah, it's just Colombo is like its time to shine has been since they've really brought back the unique upgrade. I'm a bit late to the party on that in that regard because I've just been regrinding the Research Bureau points. And hey, better late than never, right? So if you liked today's video, give a thumbs up. If you didn't, give a thumbs down. Subscribe if you do want to see more. If you're subscribed, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. Until next time, take care.